Yo guys, it's JJ here, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to make some hard trap beats but in a very easy manner. And before we get into the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We are almost at 2k. Really appreciate all the support lately. Let's just get to them numbers. But to show some love back, in the description I've got a bunch of free drum kits for you guys, and the latest one is in my Instagram, so go ahead and grab it. But with all that being said, let's just jump into the video. First thing I want you guys to know, for this trap beat, I've got myself a tempo over 164 BPM, and we're going to be working in the scale of E minor. But the first sound and the main melody alongside this VST comes from Purity, and this is a slow synth. Within the bank, we're using this preset called the Shine preset, and it's a very dope preset. Always getting them hard beats going out with this. And looking at the pattern, it is very simple and straightforward. If I literally just take this down a whole octave, as you can see, all I do is play off this root note of E every single bar, and then I've got myself this B and a C back to back, because these one notes apart within the scale create tension, and that's how we get that dark vibe. All I do is take it up an octave, so I got a bit of variation going, and then I've got myself another note of E. Then I clicked Alt R just to pull up a randomizer and mess with the velocity, as you can see, just to give it a bit more of a human touch. And with all that being said, this is what the main melody sounds like. As for the effects, it is very simple. All I did was get myself this EQ, calling off all my loads and then ducking some harsh frequencies. Then I got myself an instance of a fruity phaser, but only applying it at 50%, just to add a bit of movement to the melody. And then last but not least, some Valhalla Vintage Verb, just to add a bit of ambience to the sound. And who can forget, I stereo separated this around 30%, just to widen it a bit in the headphones. As for the next sound, I got myself an instance of Piano V3, using the basic preset that is loaded up with it, called the American Home Clean. And as you can see, it's a very simple pattern again. All I do is follow the root notes of the piano. All I do is follow the root notes of the main melody, as you can see, with that E, and I create a nice little bounce at the start of every bar, and I just take it up a whole octave, just to fill in the frequency. And looking at the pattern, it is very simple. All I do is get myself this nice little root note of E, following just the main melody, and I got myself this nice little bounce, kind of like that 808 bounce you usually get, but I apply it at the start of every 4 bar. And then all I did was take this up a whole octave, just so I can fill in that frequency range. And that is really it, just to provide a bit more bounce. So without further ado, this is what the piano sounds like. And looking at the effect, it is so simple. All I do is cut off my lows, then duck some of these mids and raise some of these highs, and then again another EQ, and then again another Valhalla Vintage Verb, just to add some slight ambience to the sound. And then for the next component in the melody, I got myself this preset from the Mini V. And then for the next component in the melody, I got myself an instance of this Mini V. I got myself an instance of this Mini V3, the 83 ARP over preset. And this is literally the most complex pattern in the whole thing, but then again, it is very simple. All it is this E, but then it gets taken up an octave, as you can see. And then I play about with these dark notes down here and up here, and as I said before, a note apart creates tension, giving you that dark vibe. And other than that, all these other notes are literally just an E, so that's how I get that kind of dark atmosphere again. All I did was click Alt R to pull up this randomizer and play with the velocities again, just to add a human touch. And that's all it is. So this is what the ARP sounds like. As for the effects, again, simple as hell. All I did was get an EQ cutting off some highs and lows, then dug some of these harsher frequencies. Then I added an instance of RC20, just a bit of Vinyl 1 preset going on here, just to add a bit of that vintage touch. Then a bit of a Valhalla Vintage Verb again to add some ambience and reverb. And then lastly, I stereo separated this around 50%, just to make it wider within your headphones. And next up, I got myself an instance of Contact 7. And then next up, I got myself an instance of Contact 7 using the Balkan Ethnic Orchestra Bank with the Gypsy Violin preset. And looking at the pattern, it is very simple again. At the start of every 4 bar, I literally have the root note playing again. And then all I do is introduce a B and a C at the end of every 4 bar, just again, because these notes are 1 centimeter apart, giving that dark vibe. And that is literally it. So without further ado, this is what the violin sounds like. And same effects as before. got an EQ, then an instance of Soothe 2 to act as a harsh frequency compressor, and then some Valhalla Vintage Rib again for the ambience. And then to wrap this whole melody up, I got myself an instance of Analog Lab 5 with a very nice bass preset called the Source Bass. And again, simple as heck, got myself a root note, playing itself every 4 bar, but I cut it at the very end of the last few beats because it just gives it a bit of tension having that sound come in and out. But now, with all that being said, this is what the sample sounds like. And there we have it, a nice and simple trap sample. But before we get into the drums, just bear in mind all of these are from the Essential Kit, which is found on my Instagram in the link below. As for this first sound, all I did was get myself a Lex Luger slap clap, playing it on every third measure of every beat, and that's all it is, a very simple clap pattern. But then coming into the hi-hats, it's a very simple pattern again, just keeping it nice and bouncy though, because I've got myself a nice little 2-step. However, if we look at every 2 bar, I got myself a nice little step roll here, and then all I did was copy and paste this little 2 bar 3 more times over to make a full 8. And this is what the hi-hats and the clap sound like. Next up, guys, we got ourselves the 808, and looking at the pattern, it is pretty simple again. All I do is get myself this really cool bounce for this first 2 bar, and then I copy and paste it over. But the only variation I've got going on here is adding this extra note down here. But then I get the same pattern going again, but in terms of variation, all I did, take these 2 notes up a whole octave, but then slice this 1 note in half. So instead of having 2 808s back to back, I got myself a little free roll. And then looking at the kick, I got myself a bow kick, which is one of my hardest hitting kicks. But looking at the kick, I got myself the bow kick, one of the hardest hitting kicks in the whole kit. And as we can see, follows the exact same pattern as the 808. But one thing I like to know in every video about my 808s and my kicks, if you click Control A, which highlights all your notes, and grab your mouse, hold that scroller wheel down, and then push it to the very top. As you can see, all that does is it maxes your velocities out, making your drums and your 808s, making your kicks and your 808s sound so much punchier. And the benefit of this is it just sounds more appealing to artists and anyone else hearing your beats, because you got a very nice kick and 808 punching through. So with all that being said, this is what the 808 and the kick sound like. And now we're onto the final components of our beat, which are the 3 little perks that I added in. The first one is this nice little zap perk, which sounds like this. And we all know it. But looking at the pattern is this nice little 4 bar that just has a zap perk coming in every so often to add a bit of variation. And then next up we got ourselves an instance of the tick perk, and this is what it sounds like. We all know it and use it, but as you can see, it repeats every 4 bar, and I have it towards the 3rd bar of every 4. Just got myself a nice little cool roll, adding a bit of variation. And then last but not least, for the perks, I got myself this nice little cowbell sound, which we all know, and it repeats itself every 8 bar because I like to have it hitting at the very end, just to have a bit of variation. But with all that being said, this is what the easy method of making a hard beat sounds like. But now, guys, we are onto the beat structure, and the first thing I want to go through is that intro, which is a nice little bass line alongside a cool little art pattern with the main melody. But then I have it all cut out at the very end of the 8 bar, so it drops into the chorus very nicely. And looking at the chorus, the pattern is very simple. First 8 bar is just the main melody with the piano and all of these essential drums alongside it. But then in the second half, I now introduce that ARP again, and I have that tick perk running alongside it to fully fledge it out. But then looking at the verse section, we got ourselves 3 8 bars in total, and the first one just consists of the same melody, which is that nice little sample and the piano. But all I do is have these essential drums playing, and I mess about with the hi-hat pattern a bit, just for a bit of variation within the verse. But looking into the second third of the pattern, I now introduce that nice little violin for a bit of variation, and as you can see, it's the first time it comes in as well, so very nice little component. And as well as that, I've got a lot of these drums coming in together. But then for the final 8 bar, I got myself what I call the pre-hook or the pre-chorus, and that's essentially that 8 bar that builds up back into the chorus, building that energy up. And all I do is introduce that bass line, strip away all the drums apart from the kick and the clap, and that's literally it. But for the choruses, I copy it 2 more times over, and for the final chorus, as you can see, got that violin playing for the variation, and then it's the same verse section again. But with all that being said, you have finally made it to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed it, I hope you've liked it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All the support is truly and deeply appreciated. We are almost at 2k subs, so let's go get it. But with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.